Well, folks, thanks again. It's our second meeting for the Morton County War Dead Monument Committee. And we had really good discussion, I felt, at our first meeting. So with that, we'll be going into a few more, going through some of that same discussion again for the sake of our architects. They can extract a little bit more information, Q&A from us as we proceed. And then start going into some of the concepts as well. But before we get rolling, again, just do a quick introduction because we do have a couple new faces here, and everyone just go around the room, introduce yourself. Al, if you want to start.
Al Fitterer, architect.
Okay,
Jake Axman, I'm a landscape architect.
Nikki Freilich, veteran.
Stacy Bendish, veteran. I got relatives on the wall, so I get involved.
Andy Zachmeyer, county commissioner.
Ray Morrell, County Commissioner, veteran, and also have relatives on the wall. Larry?
Larry McClellan, veteran, concrete god.
Glenn?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Glenn Reed. I am a retired veteran and not a original member of Morton County, but I have been in Morton County for about 20 some odd years. So.
And then Wendy Bent, our HR director, she's also on. She's serving as our committee secretary as well. So again, thank you, Wendy.
And just for your information too, that in my introduction, I should have told you that I have served in the National Guard for 64 to 70. So.
Other people on the committee that are not logged in yet or present, Scott Stevens, he is home with the flu. He might be able to log in remotely. And then Gary Gorosky, he's not here as yet. And then Todd Porter, he's not here as yet. So first step, as far as the agenda is concerned, everyone had a chance to look at the summary from the last meeting.
One thing I know is my name was spelled wrong, but
Is it?
that's Tacey.
Oh,
Otherwise, I agree with most of it.
okay. Make that correction. Motion to accept
I'll make
or
that
approve.
motion.
Motion by Stacy, second by
I'll second.
Second by Nikki. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor of the minutes from the January 6th meeting, say aye. Any opposed? Then the minutes are approved. Jumping into the committees, then. So just giving an update as far as what you've accomplished from your committee meetings. So starting with the first one, historical research, Andy and is it Andy and Nikki? I think the two of you were on that one, right? What do you got for updates?
I'll let Nikki take it because we met for coffee and she took better notes.
Well, I took scribbles. I don't know if I took notes really, but yeah, so we did have an opportunity to meet and we I guess what I'll probably start with saying is maybe discussing putting together some guidelines. With that, we have so I think right now we have we do have, I think, one on for Indian Wars. Or is that
One for Indian Wars that
yeah.
I know of anywhere we can find.
Okay. With that, the question has been brought up. Fort Abraham Lincoln is part of Morton County. do we put all those names on the memorial that passed away from the Indian Wars? And that could be quite extensive. That would be including the Battle of the Little Bighorn, and anybody from that battle who was stationed at Fort Abraham Lincoln would technically be a resident of Morton County at the time of their death, if they were stationed at Fort Abraham Lincoln. So trying to figure out how to proceed with that. We did discuss a little bit about setting up some guidelines. I did call around a few different places, including all the way down to Tennessee. There is some information about the Blount County War Memorial that is in Tennessee. And I talked to the veteran service officer there. They don't have guidelines, they just have minutes. I called a couple of the other places and there really is no set written guidelines that I can find at the moment. But just trying to figure out how we want to go about adding people. Also, this is a war dead memorial. How do we define that?
That's actually what the next committee was
That's
working
what
on.
the committee did.
Yep.
Okay,
You did mention the first military installation in Morton County, Fort Rice. My hometown.
Mhm.
yeah.
I would feel that the county residents, if they enlisted as a resident of Manatee, they will qualify. If they were a galvanized Yankee who got sent up here because they were from South Carolina and they didn't want to be in a POW camp somewhere starving to death, so they agreed to take an oath and come up here and serve. I don't think that quite will qualify. Something like that. I think somewhere you gotta just say this is for Morton County residents who serve, not just. Because I was in the military, I got stationed in Virginia. I was never a resident of Virginia as far as I was concerned. Neither was I a resident of Scotland. I was stationed there. I was just from North Dakota. Yeah. So.
And the other, my 3 cents on that too is looking at not only the formation of Morton County, but also looking at the formation of North Dakota. So case in point for Tennessee is the example that was provided. Well, they were established in 1796.
Mhm.
North Dakota wasn't established as a state proper. Was it 1889?
1889.
Yep. And Morton County, granted, we went through 3 different reorganizations, but again, in that same timeline, when we want to isolate Battle of Little Bighorn specifically,
Yeah,
that was 1876. That was pre-statehood.
Morton County used to include Sioux County and Grant County.
It did. Yep.
At one time, I think, all the way to the Montana border.
It did.
So with that, we probably should even have that name on there then.
Ooh. Which one?
Dorman
Dorman lived at Fort Rice,
at Fort Rice.
Yeah.
right outside of Fort Rice.
But that's where
But if we are looking at just adding names of, well, post statehood,
We haven't decided
know.
that yet.
Yeah.
right.
okay,
When the part of it would be what the Historical Society told me when Ron Otto and I visited about the one Medal of Honor recipient, because he was born at Old Fort Lincoln. And it says Fort Lincoln, Dakota Territory.
Mhm.
So I called State Historical and I said, what do you guys say? And they said, by the rules of Military Service Medal of Honor, Morton County definitely existed since 1871. He was born like 1888 or something, but I could look it up. But they said he is a Morton County Medal of Honor recipient and he should be honored as such. And that was why his name is out there. But, I'm all right if it's about adding the names. Then do we want to go into the biography? Cause that's going to take a lot of work. That's 200 and some names
Yeah.
to add. And then there's also then how many politically correct individuals are gonna show up and say, well,
Well, with that, that's my other concern is with. Yeah, how are we gonna be upsetting people?
Well, the initial founding of Morton County, January 8, 1873. Okay, just information's sake. But again, being very delineated as far as, and I know the wall right now has a presentation of Medal of Honor recipients, and we're not disputing the recognition for that. But that is also goes back to what we discussed at the last meeting, is could that possibly be a separate presentation? You know, let the committee discuss that. But could that possibly be a separate discussion, a separate presentation, and this portion of the monument focusing on the warhead? Okay, and I'm not canceling it out. I'm just saying let's focus this conversation on this side versus, because again, going back to the historical records, you know, we can probably extract as more information gets compiled year after year after year. We're going to find a lot more that'll finally surface its way through. Just look what happened after the World War I Centennial Commission. That's where a lot of information surfaced because more people are diving into the records. So that being said, you know, I'm not opposed, and you guys give input on this as well, the argument with Spanish-American War, let that be the starting point. I'm not opposed to that.
I'm not opposed to it, but like I said, see, Dorman lived in Fort Rice. He was a resident of Morton County before he got in the military. I'd say that would be, if you're gonna go back to people from the 1870s, that's gotta be like how you draw the line. If they weren't some former resident who lived here, worked here, then enlisted and died, I don't really think you can count them.
Because that's the intention too,
Yes,
is
'cause the
that
intention
Morton
is
County,
Morton County residents.
correct,
Now,
or some level of residency.
yes.
Yep. Glenn, Larry, what's your guys' thought? You guys are both still muted yet.
Yeah. No, I agree with having to be some type of resident for a certain amount of time, whatever. And I do agree with the time frame too, from the time Martin County became incorporated as a county.
Glenn, you agree?
Yeah, I know the original first off intention was they had to be born and raised in Morton County. But there's, you know, I've heard people talk about, well, they weren't born here, they were born there, they moved here when they were one. You know, if they grew up here and everything else, and they entered service here and died in service, I think they should, you know, warrant a place on that wall.
Okay. Well, the way it sounds, we got a consensus then. And I'm just, again, going through Wikipedia, the source of all that is accurate. Morton County, the organization started in 1873, however, was not completed until 1878. and then again reorganized 1879, reorganized in 1881. And then there was another boundary adjustment 1887 when lands that were given to Burley County was given back to Morgan County at that time frame. Then 1916 portioned off for Grant County. So we got our history lesson. So as far as the biography, I think that's very important. Not that it, not that we need it all right this very moment. Because it's definitely a work in progress. And the other piece, as far as myself as a county commissioner, having a historical portfolio as well. Working with them, their communities, their regions, whatever that case may be. So that's what another piece of that puzzle. But I believe that I feel that the biography of these people is important, because that does help make sure that their legacy can live on. So, if you guys have any thoughts or had your discussion as far as what minimum information you want to, so at least there's a consistency in the presentation. Because again, take that into a website piece of
At this point, we're just trying to find as much information as we can. Commissioner Zachmeyer has already done a lot of the research. He's far ahead of where I am. He's got some hours already invested in this. So now I'm just what I'm trying to do is just trying to establish that base and finding resources to help find as much information as I can. I've gone down some rabbit holes on the National Archives already, found some pretty cool stuff already. But it's gonna take a lot of time. It's gonna take some time. I think the minimum that we're trying to look for is name, rank, awards. Yeah.
their Morton County connection.
Yeah, Morton County connection.
Some of the war dead, more in World War I than in World War II. World War II, you can find some of the after action reports. On World War I, and even in World War II, you couldn't find a lot of information. Then I had to start tracking them by their unit. So how did that individual soldier or sailor die? Couldn't find a lot, but they were in such and such division, such and such a regiment, and then you'd start tracking them. So there's like I can't mention the name, but there'd be a soldier that landed at Normandy, and he was within this division, this regiment, this what is it? Brigade. So you had to start, well, wait a second, there it is. That's his regiment. They landed at this at Utah Beach. Then they went inland. It wasn't Utah by Cherbourg, where they made the right-hand turn to secure the Cherbourg Peninsula. But anyway, you'd start, okay, then there's this road. Okay, well, I know when he died. And then you'd be all of a sudden, say he died on May 6th, May 2nd, they're engaged. Then there's nothing, and now there's May 8th, and they're 20 miles down the road. Well, he died on the 6th. But the last movement of his regiment of what he did was on the 2nd. So I went up to May 2nd of what the movement of the unit was. And who knows what happened before they moved, but there's just no record until May 8th of where they were engaged again.
Right.
So I just stopped and I went, it's about the finality of it too. why go into what the unit did after date of death? He wasn't there.
So
So he died, you know, I'd say that he died in the Cherbourg area, which is as close as I could get.
Mhm.
And on May 2nd and or on May 6th. And I just went up to May 2nd as far as unit movements, and that was the best I could do.
I would say you would just say died in World War II. That Cherbourg is part of Normandy offensive. Leave it at that, because anything going any deeper is just, to me, almost too much detail. Like my father died, my uncle died in Vietnam, first day on patrol. Well, he served 2 months over there. That was it. Just killed in action, Vietnam. That, if you want to say near some part of it, that's probably enough.
I think in the research side of things, I mean, I definitely appreciate the diligence for the research. But it can also provide a place of termination that allows the family to pick up after that.
Yeah.
You know, because again, you can invest thousands of hours if you really wanted to, which, some of us have for those projects of passion. But thousands of hours you can really invest into where you can really just create a stopping point in a generality. But let me ask this question though, as far as what you have for names, do you feel confident that we have them cataloged?
Best as I could.
Because that you've been doing this for a couple years.
And then one, and the other ones, Diane Boyd found newspaper.
Mhm.
Like there's a soldier, she found a newspaper article. And we lived on Collins Avenue in the area of St. Joseph's Church. And so there's a newspaper article. Family was notified today that their son was killed in action in World War II in Europe. And so she sent it to me, and it was as well. Family lives on Collins Avenue in Mandan, North Dakota, and they were notified that their son had been killed. But the military records indicated that he was more of a Sioux County death than a Morton County death. But then how do you ignore the newspaper? His family, who lives at such and such an address on Collins Avenue, was notified that their son was killed in battle in Europe in World War II. So his name is not on the wall, but I included him on this list because here's a newspaper article that says
Because
the
we don't
family and
know,
everybody was in Mandan.
we don't know when, if indeed it was a Sioux County resident, we don't know when they may have moved into Mandan.
No,
Dad sold the farm to here, he went to the service.
Exactly.
Moved to Mandan, and they were there for 2 years.
Yep.
That's where he lived.
And the reason why I asked that question, though, as far as the roster, of course, we can help gauge the size of the presentation, of that piece of the presentation. Knowing that we have, let's just say we got 99.9% what we feel of the roster names. So you can scale it accordingly.
Sure.
And in the meantime, the actual historical, the research will continue.
And then as far as where this research goes, who's responsible for storing that information?
That, well, again, a multifaceted conversation that Commissioner Zachmeyer and I have had through the last couple of years. That's why I mentioned one for the historical societies. But the other piece too is I am working with, nothing's in places yet, but I am working with our PIO to establish a new website. So there's a portal right there. And that's, again, the speed of bureaucracy, because money's got to get budgeted first, and RFPs, then the development, then blah, blah, blah. So
Is there a backup of that information then? Post or list placed somewhere?
well, again, it depends on what we assemble for the final pieces. If it's a document and I get
I don't know how, so just pull it.
Lamar, I'm gonna mute you, buddy. So it depends on what that final final assembly is and where that gets archived. But that would be the point. And then next committee though, Stacy,
So before you move on.
Yeah.
So since you mentioned, to have extra room on a plaque to add names, so you would have to do that for each conflict, correct?
if I'm understanding you correctly. So let's just take the existing configuration. Then yes, we would have to add names to that. But if we're starting with a total new format of presentation, then we have a pretty concise compilation of names and conflicts.
But you probably would still, just say down the road, 5, 10 years,
Mhm.
some relative comes back and approaches the county and says, well, my son was killed in that conflict. So we probably want to make sure that there is space
Hmm.
to add names in the future.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know how many,
Yeah.
Right.
2, 3,
So-
4, whatever.
We'd have to have some space for additions and even probably corrections, so.
Right.
So I did get some
Talk-
information from the Adjutant General's office too, that, have some names on there that we need to investigate. So, I mean, there's always that chance that we're gonna have more people to add in the future.
The other part of that too, though, is we don't know yet is what that presentation would be.
Well, right. I mean,
Is it just throwing hypothetical out there? Is it in a format that could be cost effectively removed and reconstructed? And I just pick on, presentation I've seen many times over is tempered glass that you can just laser etch in there. What that cost is, I don't know, but
well, even on stone, you can come back later and add on stone.
right. And especially today where you can log what your font and blah, 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 so it does match up, which is one of the challenges we have today. But yeah, that very valid question.
Right.
And Stacy, you and
I
Scott
don't
were,
remember the other two people's names. I did not meet with them since the last meeting unless they met and talked about something. But a lot of the stuff we talked tonight is part of our committee's forte, and I would never thought of talking about this stuff, so came up.
mm,
So I think going forward, we're gonna have more to discuss now based on what's happened here. Have more things to discern and think about and bring back later in another meeting.
and then on the fundraising side of things, Gary Grasky, Glenn and I, and Todd was not able to make that meeting, but we did discuss and just in high level conversation, timeline for fundraising activity. We broke it down in 4 different timelines. You got an awareness campaign, which is basically where we're at right now. Lamar, I'm going to mute you, and if I hear you feed back in, I might have to remove you. Then we have an approval campaign timeframe, which basically when the county commission gives the authorization to move forward. We have construction campaign, self-explanatory. Then you got a final dedication campaign. There's timeframes in between that we've identified. There's timeframes in between that kind of run over top of each other. Donation sources, of course, there's government funded. There's direct mail campaigns, grants, gaming requests, pledges. Pledges are their own little animal as far as getting your fulfillments. General donation, special events, and in-kind contributions. In-kind will definitely have to be kind of factored in with the scope of work itself and see what comes back that way. That's obviously the only way that can really work its way through. We had some discussion on costs associated with funding, whether it's print costs, postage costs, graphic design costs, web design costs. Donor recognition awards. If we did pledges, of course, you got follow-up mails, you got advertisements, all that, that can wrap around into the fundraising campaign itself. We did have discussion on donor recognition, pretty concise dialogue on that, because again, the consensus was not having anything that would change the importance of the monument itself, the magnitude of the monument itself. So had some conversation as far as donor recognition and basically taking that to the website, using that as that portal. But in the same token, those donors that give a specified dollar level and above, we've provided them some sort of recognition that they can display back at their place of business or their home or their family, whatever the case may be. And that recognition could take place during a dedication ceremony itself. So they can get that public recognition in the same token. And then, of course, media relations, public relations, telling the story. The biggest piece of fundraising is making sure you stay in the public's mind. So in again, high level discussion, that's what we hit on. Glenn, anything I'm missing on that?
No, I think you covered most of it. I think we also, I think you touched on it. But you know, a recognition type of thing based on level of donations, you know, whatever tier it may be, however we want to call it. But giving recognition for, you know, over so much donated, you get your name on something, and we list all that and put it where people that come to see the memorial can see the names of the people who donated to make it happen. Over a certain dollar amount. I'm not saying if someone gives $1, they don't get their name on a plaque, but someone gives $1,000 or, you know, whatever, we have something that can show a little recognition that, you know, Larry McClellan donated $1,000 to this project. Okay, he might be a bronze donor or something like that, or what is it? A gold star donor, and then you got silver star donors, and you got honor donors or something like that, you know, however we want to designate them. But those who give so much and tear it up, get their name on a plaque that everybody can see.
Right. And for the record, I want to note that Gary Gorosky's on as well. He joined remotely. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Ray.
Anything you want to add to that?
No, that covers it. And I just for my report from what you gave me, like I said, this is the first time I've ever done a committee like this. I don't really have an in at Cloverdale anymore with TJ being stepped down. And that's where I think you would be instrumental telling me who I should talk to and when. Dale Polkey, I've had conversations with before when they did donations fundraising for St. A's when they'd have a night for the stars. So he may or may not remember me. And I've planted the seed with my son-in-law and Don Pask. He's the manager of ID Chrysler Dodge. He said either with him or at a point we want to get together with Jesse Peterson. He's the main owner, the grandson of the ID group. And he just said, just let me know when and how much, because his dad, Don Paskey, passed 2 years ago, senior. He was a Vietnam era vet. So I've planted the seed with my son-in-law because they come over Sunday for supper. But I feel probably most comfortable going through him. And then I said to him, because he's technically at the Bismarck store across the river. But now that they're taking over the Chevrolet dealer from that Canadian owned, I said there's 3 stores, because there's the Subaru up on the hill by the high school. So technically there's 3 or 4, because there's the key is considered as separate. So there'd be 3 or 4 stores with the ID group in Mandan. And that's where I'm gonna be petitioning my son-in-law hard for that, because even with his dad, I'm pretty sure did 1 or 2 tours for Vietnam, and he said his dad never talked much about his time, boots on the ground. But otherwise, with you, Ray, just telling me, Cloverdale with the new CEO, if TJ's gone, I feel I kind of lost that in, and then maybe Dale Polkey at Dakota Community Bank, and then for bigger donors, because in my mind, and I haven't dropped any amounts with my son-in-law, I'm thinking minimum, I'm very hopeful 50, 75,000, because I said it's going to be probably over a couple of years, but we have to bring a dollar amount to Morton County Commissioners. And then he asked me, and I said, well, and I hope that's okay. I said 800,000, but that's in January 2025 dollars. So it's probably most likely going to go higher.
Yeah.
So that's what I've planted with him. The others, whoever you would tell me to talk with, I'm excited about it. So, and I talked to a couple of parishioners I know that financially I think they're well off, but they have connection to veterans. Maybe not those that would be on the plaque, but would be just individual donors. And if at a point I'll be visiting with them and just planting the seed that this is coming about. So it's about what I have.
Yeah, and then of course our focus is Morton County, but understanding that we need to be sure not to close our eyes on the metro area,
Right.
if not beyond.
So you would think that's fine, even if my years in corrections, knowing people out at Lincoln or Bismarck and surrounding areas that would want to, do something for that for Morton County, because it's for honoring those that gave the ultimate sacrifice. So,
right. And for the fundraising committee, obviously there's be a little bit more detail that's going to come into play yet, and we still got to go through the motions of the process. But that's why we're just starting on the framework.
Okay.
So awesome. Thanks.
Yep.
Stepping into the next item again, I'm gonna, after talking with our architects, they are definitely not opposed to revisiting that individual vision that each of us had, because they were able to take notes from the summary, but as things come into play, they might be able to throw some questions back and forth. So that being said, I'm gonna start online. Gary, if you want, throw you on the spot right away. But what do you see this monument as a finished product? And as a 50,000 foot focus or as a 5,000 foot focus? What do you see?
To be honest, I don't think I've given that a whole lot of thought, more how it's presented, even with lighting, because when Todd Porter talked about that, bringing attention to it day and night, and the weathering factor, because even if the previous monument was 70 years, correct?
Correct. Yep.
That, shooting for 75 to 100 years, that it's well beyond when we've left this earth. But as the specifics with it, I'm open to anything. I mean, with, and where you said shooting for the stars, in my mind, I'm thinking, cost wise, 1 million, 1.1, and how it's presented. I don't know if it was Glenn or someone had mentioned, even when we honor people, not taking away from the monument, you said, not putting them, like they'd be covered up in snow. Because I know with ID and the different groups with that, but something that will weather good but present well. So I'm not any. I mean, probably everyone on this committee has more experience with that than I do. So I'm open to anything, any ideas. So.
Okay. Glenn? Input? No. Glenn, Larry, why don't you
Oh.
jump in then?
Okay, I'm sorry, I was
Oh, there you
muted.
are.
Sorry about that. I sent you a sketch and email. And I don't know how to jump in and share screens on this. I'm used to
Let
Teams.
me do that right now. So go ahead and talk as I pull it up.
And then I'm also sending you a picture that I took from the Veterans Memorial here in Farmington, New Mexico yesterday. And the idea that I've got, and like I said, I apologize for the picture. It's not the best.
Can you
But
see that?
yes, I can.
Okay.
Uh I was trying to keep the original design because I know we talked about the zigzag design and the elliptical design. I'm trying to use the elliptical format, but keep the essence of the zigzag design. And that being the 4 lines there, being panels or plates or whatever you want to call them, zigzagged across the elliptical area. And then you said something about those, how many of those, like 3 or 4 foot long,
Oh, the existing slabs?
yeah, they're like marble or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's a granite. And I got the measurements tucked away someplace, but there's a few of them.
But we take, you know, 8 of them, and then we take the other ones, cut them in half to make the feet, and now all of that has been repurposed as benches on either side of the plates. And then, you know, whatever lighting we want to put shining up on them or whatever. I'm just talking design. I'm not talking to materials or anything like that. And then those 5 little blocks along the back side of the elliptical there, that would be just a little podium thing about 3 feet tall that recognizes each branch of the military service. Maybe on the front of that, where the plaque for, the Army and Marine Corps and all that stuff is at, you could list what campaigns that branch of service has fought in for the country or something like that, or a history, a little synopsis of the history of the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, when it was born, stuff like that. And that big long loopy thing there on the left, that's just that one bench over there against the trees. And I emailed you a picture.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking statues. That could be an idea in lieu of a statue, just be a silhouette. And if you have the right lighting in front of it, it shines through that and puts that silhouette on the wall there on the north side.
What he's showing here is the Gold Star Monument. That's another activity I'm involved in, but that is the actual monument. That is the backside that can be personalized for each specific site. What this image doesn't show is the front of the monument, which is very, very specific and directed by the Woody Williams Foundation. That is the parent organization that is pushing these Gold Star monuments. But that's the image that you're showing here, Glenn.
Yeah.
That is from the Woody Williams. Go ahead.
Necessarily everything on that. I'm focusing mainly on the silhouette in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
The saluting soldier. It doesn't. I mean, a lot of stuff on that monument right there is Marine Corps, but the silhouette itself, it's just a saluting service member. You don't know if it's a man or a woman. You don't know if it's Army, Navy, Marine Corps, whatever. It's just the silhouette of a saluting soldier facing the monument. And if you put the right light in front of it, shining through it against that north wall on the courthouse. Now you've got a lighted silhouette, the wall that's even bigger.
Thank you. Then we'll jump into Stacy.
Okay, like I said last time, the monument's gotta have some durability and correctability to it, like the fact it would have the hometown of the person. The current one does, it says these are from Brian, New Salem, whatever. Branch of service name. Now, I also like the legacy of the old design. And when I looked at the elliptical design, the zigzag design, what I liked about the zigzag design, I thought it was a little smaller and quite less imposing. I thought the elliptical was just a little too grandiose for the size of the space. That's what drew me to the zigzag. Because it just seemed like it was a little smaller. And I did like that one image that had the flag projected up on the building. I thought that was a good thing to have. Didn't really like all the statues. I thought there were too many of them. I thought some of them distracted from, because there was one of someone in a wheelchair. And I thought that just took up too much. Made the space too busy.
Just clarification, that was just an artist rendition of
I
people
know.
around
I'm
it,
just, you know,
not a statue.
some
So
of them were like, looked like they were brown statues, so.
Yeah, no, there was just
silhouettes.
figures about people
Right.
walking through.
Then I'm fine with it, because I was like,
Yeah.
those are too many statues, you know. Right. And they're too busy, so, that's my feeling on it. That was what I liked to see. I thought it was just a little smaller footprint, and it's not quite, but just took up too much room for forward equipment.
Yeah.
Nikki?
So again, the zigzag design, I do like that that is kind of a tribute to what we currently have. But I feel like it should be something something bigger and more recognizable for the public. I think it should be a symbol of I think it should be a symbol of pride. I mean, for what it is supposed to be. But yeah, just I imagine there to be lights on there, plenty of lights to be lit up. I think that I do like the silhouette idea. But just something, of course, I say durability, something that will last through the years. Yeah, something that we in our county can be recognized that it's something there for our veterans. Yeah.
Andy?
Oh, I'm sorry. I like the main thing is from what I'm visiting with everybody now, between county commissioners and even this board, when you can walk around them and behind and amongst the panels, it's living. So if it's a zigzag in the panels, so that you can walk around with them, walk around them. The elliptical or whatever, as long as people can walk around it, I'm okay with everything there. I really liked the last meeting when someone said, well, we could also do like right now there's that curved bench with the oval. But maybe could have been a zigzag bench and repurpose the granite from the current wall in a zigzag pattern off to the side to still show the zigzag of the originals. And then if it's the zigzag with the offset panels, I think that would be nice. So whatever as long as it can be moved around and be a living thing, I'm okay with whichever design we have. And if there's a way to pay a little bit of homage to the zigzag, which there is nobody from World War I left, and World War II is not many left there either. And they're the ones who paid for the original. If we can do her, great. The south sidewalk here. If it's the elliptical and it pushes too close, at first the county auditor wanted to keep this sidewalk. But now she said if the sidewalk's gotta go, it's gotta go. So I think this is another rendition up here. Isn't that sidewalk going around by the edge of the building?
That is
that's
the
the
actual survey.
This one up here?
Yep, that is, we just got that from the land surveyors.
That's the north side, Andy.
The
Yep,
northwest, oh, okay,
Oh.
I see it now.
Northwest corner.
Those of you guys
Okay, I
online,
see.
I'll pull that survey up here shortly, or the plot survey.
Okay,
This is the courthouse proper. This is that softball.
okay, got it. Okay, didn't recognize it until you pointed it out better for me.
And then that, of course, is the call out.
So if the sidewalk stays here, great, because we could still put something in through here. The sidewalk's gotta go, it's gotta go. But I'm okay with it either way. I just really fell in love with the fact that you can walk in amongst it. I like the saluting soldier. It doesn't matter to me if it's a silhouette or a statue. He is saluting the war dead. He is standing by the flag. It is almost like a constant visual. There is somebody watching over their brothers and future sisters on that wall. I like the romance of it. Not that I didn't mind any of the other statues because it brings life to it. But a living memorial is what I really like about all this. It makes you interact.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't have an interaction.
Thank you, sir. So overall, what I feel overall is I appreciate the homage to the zigzag, the original monument. I feel that incorporating a zigzag in this concept, this overall design concept, conflicts. Design wise, it conflicts. However, whether it's as a bench, maybe just some sort of a planting wall, something of that sort could be incorporated that allows that history. I think the most important piece for this, in my eyes, is having the ability for people to notice it, which they don't. But giving people the ability to notice it, but also that allows the story to be told. And that is the biggest piece that needs to be mentioned. So getting into again, some of the specifics for me is, of course, this being a courthouse, there's no protection for that front entry. So having bollards incorporated some way, shape, or form. Flagpole, I'm going to up the ante on the flagpole. That thing has to be able to at least accommodate a 10x6, if not a 12x8 flag. A standard post flag, I'm sorry, it doesn't cut it for me. Not for a county building, especially a county building that recognizes a plaza such as this. And then speaking of the plaza, I really, really appreciate having the name placard out the wall out there. But whatever we come up with, and that'll be an exercise for us here in the very near future, whatever we come up with the name for the facility, we also subtitle it a monument for Morton County War Dead.
Okay.
Because it tells what it is. There was one comment that was made that also incorporating the fact that it's Morton County Courthouse, but that is also emblazoned on this west wall. that base is covered. I feel that base is covered. But let's just say it's, Defenders of Freedom Plaza, just using that as an example. Underneath that would be a monument to Morton County Warhead. And then that's in 2 lines, 3 lines, whatever the case may be, backlit, whatever. Cross that bridge with your interpretation. Obviously, the open, airy, prominence, distinction, fluid space, receptive of community gatherings. That is important because, again, I can see this as a place you can do events. And by having a zigzag wall, it really doesn't allow for that in my head, in my flow. Adequate seating, as we mentioned before. But then, as we also mentioned some time back, more so along that north wall, because it has so much south exposure, be able to be cognizant of how much sunlight really hits that sucker.
Okay.
Because that can be on a 100-degree day, that can be pretty warm along that building. But also incorporating, if possible, seating on that south side. That's where the shade is. Encompassing the green space, shade, native plantings of grasses and foliage, obviously low maintenance. Enhancing that all with nightscape lighting. The monument architect, again, we don't have a final design of what that is because that might be a separate commissioning. So whatever that monument architecture is, it's got to be dramatic. It's got to be attention grabbing. It's got to be show the impact daytime or nighttime. And I think that's something we can all agree on. Principal focus, of course, is the monument, that center monument, along with, in this exact presentation, those 3 elliptical walls. So going into, again, my understanding, what I would present is those walls be whatever material. I use the metal because that's a cold material. It'll be a rust colored. It would have to be some sort of a solid color. I use rust because, again, if you're going to throw a glass panel on there, it can be easy to read. Sure. Or black or something of that nature. So it can be easy to read. Have some sort of a weathered look, but yet a smooth finish on there. The panels, earlier I mentioned about having it on a convex side, but as I think about this more, putting on the concave side, the middle panel will be the actual roster of the fallen. Because again, by this design, that middle panel is considerably larger, wider. So it gives the girth to do the layout. And again, I look at that as on glass panels that are tempered, mounted, elevated away from the structure so it can accommodate backlighting. The roster is presented by conflict, starting with the earliest on down to the most recent. Alpha order, last name, rank, last name, first name, middle initial, for those that have, home of record, branch of service, date of loss. Example, Sergeant Smith, comma, John A, dash, space, whatever, Haymarsh, comma, U.S. Army, 02, May 1965. Just something simple like that. And if we want to be specific to military presentation, your month is only in the 3-character letter. That allows for constant spacing then. Incorporates a QR code. We mentioned that before. So, but again, that QR code, I feel that needs to stay as an adhesive, a decal. Because anytime we change the website, that QR code is going to change. So that way, as it weathers, you can replace it, clean it, put the new one up. The 2 concave flanking panels to display immortal quotes of sacrifice, honor to the fallen. On the back side, the convex side, the center panel, again, what I envision, and this can give a little bit of history also, but incorporating an etching of the county with its communities to include Haymarsh, to include Bluegrass, to include all the towns that aren't there anymore. That would also identify the purpose and a brief history of the monument itself. That could be adorned with the emblems of the armed forces in DoD order. That's real simple to explain that, but in DoD order, making sure that they're in the proper sequence. You can plan additional glass panels on the other two. I think just leaving it that simple would prevent it from being too busy. And then the monument of course in the center. Todd mentioned something right at the tail end of that last meeting is the easiest reference would be to envision the Lexar Hotel in Las Vegas, where the pyramid point is this brilliant illuminating light that just shoots up into the skies. Maybe that's as simple as the monument would be. I don't know. But what that also would do is people driving by the interstate can see that light. People in Bismarck can see that light. People in New Salem can see that light. And that can draw people in. That can be a nighttime attractor in itself. Let's see where I'm at here. And the architects and I, we did have a conversation here sometime back working through the RFP and a few other dialogue pieces, but I'm just going to put it in here as well as for point of record is, as we see from the survey, and we'll hit that here in a little bit, as we see from the lot survey, the land is pretty flat. And we get some heavy storms being in an alcove like that. There's a history of snow being built up. So incorporating some type of drainage, whether I see the different material in the concept here. There's different material around each of the wall panels themselves. Could that be drainage systems? Possibly. Or also circling the monument itself. And then also we've had some soft talk about it. I know Andy and I had talked about it briefly. The other commissioners, we've discussed it, but then we talked about it as well when we sat with the architects, is incorporating radiant heat so that in the wintertime, we don't have to worry as much about snow removal. And it makes for a safe access to the courthouse. It also helps ensure that people can congregate at all times of the year.
Some steam line.
Yep. Because what we talked was the boiler's right here.
Well, yeah, if you get the boiler that close, that makes common sense to me to
Right.
do that when you get a chance.
Yep. There's $1 associated with that. You know, we're guesstimating 60,000, but
Yeah.
I think 60,000 for years of accessibility and years of easier maintenance probably pay for itself. That's my 5 cents. Just inflated that a little bit. So with that, Al,
Well,
Jake,
first of all, I want to compliment you on the committee. Have some very good comments from the first meeting. And I think we've got very good comments from this evening also. And I think from what I'm hearing tonight is we're kind of want to almost have a combination of making sure we have the space that might be an elliptical space, but then still try and use a zigzag for the monuments. So that's something we can consider, that we can take a look at. But most importantly, right now, we would like to see if you can all come to a consensus on, say, something like that, or just all ellipse, or just all zigzag, or the combination of the two, and also a consensus on the monument materials. If that's possible tonight, I don't know, or over the next few meetings. And then on the statue, definitely a statue or a silhouette. We need to come to a consensus on that. So what we were thinking is that, we could go back if you have any kind of consensus on some of these particular items, we could come back with another rendering, say in the month of March, for your March meeting, to discuss, what you talked about at the last meeting and what you've talked about tonight.
The saluting statue generic with that silhouette flag. Towards that wall.
Yeah.
Something like that could probably. A little of each.
Got a question on materials.
Mhm.
At one point, they talked about limestone. But would limestone be too soft? Would we be better off with granite?
I would say limestone would be too soft, yes, and I think you can see probably from, if you look at the top of the, limestone around the building, it gets very dirty. Where, so it's soft and it's also,
Porous,
pardon,
porous, or
a little porous, yes. Whereas the granite is not as susceptible to taking on the dirt and stuff like that, so. It's a much harder material, of course, so definitely not limestone. though.
And the glass panels, if I was Joe Bonehead and I wanted to take an ice pick to the glass panels, would I mar them? But if I took an ice pick to the granite, would the granite survive as far as a vandal?
I think that's an issue that you have with all materials.
Yep, it
They're
is.
gonna be susceptible to vandalism. I mean, it's a fact of life that if we could prevent all that, be great. Fortunately, I hope people understand that you have a lot of security cameras all around the courthouse. And that should be your best deterrent for that.
I just, like during DAPL, and they would have, decided to throw a bunch of used motor oil on it.
Hmm.
What would be the staining effect?
Right.
And that one, there was bad, demonstrations right in front. Lots of people. And so if it was the glass, and you're right, anything could get marred, anything can be scratched. Then somebody scratched something into the Vietnam Memorial in Washington DC. They had to come and repolish it. But what would be the most durable to stop stupidity? And granite's the only thing I can think of.
With all the materials that we have shown on the screen right now, even the weathering steel, that would dent. And the limestone is probably the most fragile, even if we went with a precast concrete instead of limestone, that would chip. The granite would break, so maybe it's a matter of what would be the easiest to repair. Because I think if we're worried about vandalism and we say vandalism is inevitable, which material is the easiest to repair?
So, somebody showed up in a demonstration and they came with a sledgehammer and took it to the granite. And, might have some Mars. If they're on the edge, they might break a chunk off. But if they're beating on it right in the middle because they want to protest something, I just don't see limestone surviving it, or marble. And granite, maybe. I don't know about the glass. Would that survive somebody just bent on doing construction?
They'd be easier to replace if you did have to, though.
Well, I think with stone, yeah, you can always replace it. I mean, rather than, I'm sure the Vietnam Memorial, those are huge, huge pieces. And so we're not talking as large pieces as what you're looking at there. So, yeah, it's gonna be a cost, but I think repair at the minimum, but replacement in the long run.
And then that was the next thing is the concave. If we put straight panels, it would be cheaper than concave, wouldn't they?
How much? Yes, absolutely.
Would that make steel more appealing? Cause I don't know, I'm thinking your steel patina, obviously like Corten, whether it's where after it gets that patina on it, doesn't really rust or rot anymore, from my understanding how it works.
Well, if my experience on the building side, when it comes to a hard product such as granite, it would really depend on the quarry and the timing of the quarry. So first off, vandalism, today's society, it's something that we cannot control. It's something we should always be aware of, but we can never plan for the infinite that we don't know. But what I've experienced is, in case in point on a granite, I'm building a house for someone and they pick their stone a year before we actually install it. The grains are going to be different. So if there's ever an incident where we have to replace something that's made of granite, it'll depend on how deep into that quarry it is and where those veins might be. So you may not have 100% accurate. So if there's a way to have a better control, if it is a stone, have a better control of the color and the formations, that'd be the first pick. As far as again, I'll pick on a tempered glass. Well, if I've traveled this nation many times over, I've seen a lot of monuments, and when we're talking tempered glass, I'm not talking a 1/4 inch sheet. Exactly, a good 1 inch, inch and a half tempered glass. So it's going to be a little bit harder to break that. But the advantage that we have today that they didn't have in 1955 is the specifications and the computer ability to replicate. So in that case, when we're looking at a vandalism, it's going to be an insurance case. And with that, we're going to have to work with the insurance company on the reparation for that and whatever legal practices to get the follow through. But whether it's a flat wall or a curved wall, again, we got to look at what the overall intention is. And again, I'm going to incorporate my time as a builder. I look at the flow. These gentlemen look at the flow. So that's one thing we have to look at in the final design, unless we want to trust it to them. But we still have to be aware of that, because that will help make it a better place, make it more of a user-friendly place, is when we're looking at how the people use it, not us, how the people use it. Good question as far as what's going to be more resilient, but also what's more resilient, what's more cost effective. Is it a balance between the two? That again, I'll leave that to your trust. But honing in on where Al threw out those, we really need to hone in on what we see as that layout. I'm going from the initial dialogue with the county commission, the direction that this committee was given. The ellipse is the aforementioned layout based on 74% of response. Can we incorporate zigzag in there? Somehow, yes. The monument itself needs to, my opinion, and interpreting from the direction from the county commission as a whole, the monument as a whole needs to remain as an elliptical format. That's why throughout maybe, we've talked possible seating. Maybe it's seating on both sides, because there's a lot of granite that's out there yet, and it'll have to get shaved down again. Or could it be a planter bed, or could it be in the wall, the nameplate wall itself? Could they be incorporated into the bollards? I don't know.
Mind if I throw my 3 cents in real quick?
That's why you're here.
All right, so as far as material, I like the granite. It looks the best. I agree. But as Ray mentioned, it's hard to fix or replace to make it look like it did. it's almost impossible. Limestone, absolutely not, because that's going to weather, erode, and everything else over time. I'm still going to stay with concrete for the simple fact that if something does happen to it, it can be torn down, rebuilt, and reshaped to what the original was, and it's going to be more cost effective to it. And also for maintenance, to keep it looking new, every 2 years you pull the glass panels down, you reseal that concrete, put your glass panels back up, and maintenance is done. And I agree with the elliptical. I've said it from day one. I like this one the best. The zigzag, I would like to leave that into the seats for using the granite and the bricks from the original monument to build the seating out of, and maybe a flower bed or something. But I mean, yeah, we all have grandiose ideas, but we also have to remember this is Martin County. We don't have billions and billions of dollars that we can just, hey, let's go buy $500,000 worth of granite and have it shaped and thrown in there.
So were we talking glass panels on concrete?
Not so much, well, again, honing in on what that substrate, what the product
Sure.
itself is. I see exactly where Larry's at with the concrete. Concrete can be pretty much manipulated, color tones, PSI. Concrete versus a weathered steel. Concrete, say yes.
Yes, on concrete, because after time you're going to have to replace that steel. It is sooner or later going to rust through.
How much can concrete be colored?
A lot.
You can
I've
make
seen some
concrete look
nice
like granite if
concrete.
you do it right.
Yeah, you can do a lot with concrete.
On this application, I think we would do a precast concrete that's fabricated elsewhere, and you just bring it here and you set it in place, and it's got infinite finishes and colors to it. Yep, so it can look really sharp.
Well, if you guys want to all play with this exercise, I'm just going to try to hone in wing left versus right, so we get to here's the consensus. So starting with concrete versus steel consensus.
I prefer the concrete over the steel.
I'm either one. I see the benefits of the steel. I like the look of it if the patina is right on it. But I also understand you could probably make the cement almost have that same color patina you get from steel, so you get it both ways. So I'm not really hurt with either way on that, because I see the benefits of both, and I just don't really know which way to sort that.
How would the names be displayed on
Well,
concrete?
right now we're working on this piece first.
Yeah, I like the concrete better than steel.
I agree with the concrete.
Okay.
Concrete.
Larry, I think we heard your voice ready too. Gary?
Concrete sounds good to me.
Okay. I'm kind of with Stacy. I can go either way. I know you can manipulate concrete very, very well. And you can, well, I'm building a concrete plant.
You can manipulate steel very well too.
Yep.
They're both the most manipulable too.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Steel versus concrete, is there a huge difference in cost?
Yeah. Especially when you're dealing with
concrete's
precast.
Concrete's
Concrete's
probably going to
be
be a little more expensive because you're going to have your reinforcement inside and stuff. Plus, you got to build special forms for each of the pores to get that shape.
Okay, thanks.
so I'm going to feed this one a little bit, hitting on Andy's question. If we do concrete, would a glass panel accommodate that? In my vision, no. Steel would though.
Why would concrete not? Because you can still inset your mounts.
No, I'm
and
talking
flex
to
your glass into it.
I'm talking to presentation, unless we know what shade we're making that concrete. So basically, if we did a concrete, again, this is me thinking design wise. It would have to be a dark color in order for that glass to really be seen on the concrete.
You could go with a brick red all the way to dark black. Any of those,
Right.
anywhere in that spectrum, that ablation on the glass is going to show through.
That's what I'm saying. It has to be a dark color for the glass to be seen.
And rust is a dark color.
So again, if we're sticking back on the concrete, then what's the color consideration? Grays, dark grays?
I like more like that red up there on the steel.
I agree, I think it'll, play off the building a little bit better.
I am open to any color as long as the names show
Show.
nicely.
Yeah.
I have no preference in color other than that the names, you look at it, you see the names immediately. They don't get lost like I think they kind of do now in the aluminum
That
pad.
is to me the most important thing too, that it shows the name.
It shows the names, you look at it, and you see the names. That, I mean,
Good background.
immediately.
Gary,
Hey,
Glenn?
Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you can acid wash concrete and color it to where it looks almost like marble.
Yes,
Correct?
you can, but that is a very slow, painstaking process.
Okay. Okay. With steel, you get what you get, and that's it. I mean, you can paint it, you can do whatever. But with concrete, you've got tints you can add to the concrete. You got, you know,
Well, we've gotten a consensus on concrete. What I'm asking is what shade, what color tone?
a darker tone, something that contrasts. If we're still talking glass panels, something that you can read the panels against without having to get close or change your angle of vision or something like that. Nothing that has a bad glare to it or anything like that. But yeah, it needs to be something that contrasts so that, like you said, when you look at it, you can read it without any problems.
Yeah. And I agree with Nikki's comment is a red tone because that'll tie in with the ephes on the building.
Right. And looking at this picture, that brown brick color they have on this picture right here would actually go well with it as well.
Are you looking at the picture that we have up right now?
Yes.
So what do you say is a brown brick?
The kind of the way the monument itself is colored right now is kind of like that darker brown brick.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what it is, but that's kind of what I'm going off of.
Are you
But
guys
that
seeing
kinda
are you seeing the sample that I have up on my
Yes.
screen right now? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Where the little wheelchair dude is sitting in front of the wall, that color of the wall there.
Nope, we're looking at we here are looking at a different image.
Well, you're not sharing it with me then.
Just a second, I'll fix that. Get to,
I think what you were showing me was the elliptical.
okay, can you see this? It's got all the color swatches.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay,
Down here on the right, that weathered.
yep. Well, that's
Yeah,
a
that
weathered
one.
steel, but that's the color.
Yeah, that'd be about that same brown brick.
I'm not seeing what he's talking about there.
What he's going off of is the concept drawing
Okay.
and using that color because it ties in, which also ties into the building. So that color palette.
Yeah, and I think there's some red brick on the building on the south side of the courtyard, isn't there? Or is that ephes over there
That
as well?
the courtyard is all ephes, but there is brick on the planting bed,
Yes,
on a brown brick.
and on the office building to the south. Yeah.
Yeah, this is brick. Yeah, this building. Is that brick?
There's some red brownish.
Yeah,
brownish
that's
red
right.
brick on
On the south side of the courtyard.
Okay, so then a consensus then is we do, I'll just term it as earth tone. That can color match, color blend with the existing building. that gives you a little bit more latitude here.
Yeah, you know, there to the matching the brick on the office building portion.
Okay.
Social services building.
Okay, and then again, we're gonna weigh left versus right. If we go with that, again, for conversation, for consensus, do you see it with the glass panel? Staying with that mindset, the glass panel versus a steel panel, and either one gets etched. Glass will get etched from the backside. Steel will get etched from the face. And if it's steel, you can still get it sealed because it's just a straight panel. No joints, no seams, no nothing. Dialogue.
So again, we're gonna have the possibility of names being added later on. So something that can be adjusted easier is gonna be better. If that would be individual glass panels, I think we need to maybe look at something that can be adjusted going down the road.
That actually brings me a question for the architects is, and I don't remember, I believe as far as manufacturing on a curved piece, whatever that radius would be, what's limitations we have in size, do you know? Because I look at that middle panel, one piece of glass, one piece of steel, whatever it is, it's not segmented, one solid sheet.
So how do you adjust that with Ron?
Well, everything would be pre-drilled, mounted into the substrate.
You'd have mounting places on your panel and your glass would just
Mount
mount
to
into
it,
that.
Yep.
And if you-
Just like putting handles on a refrigerator door.
Cost is also an issue with it.
And that's where glass versus steel, I don't look at numbers. Glass is gonna be a lot more expensive
Zero.
because you gotta build that curve into the glass. Steel, you can just roll it.
I guess I'm not following how you would want to, if you go with steel, mounting it to your concrete. I mean, I know it can be mounted, but why the two? Why would you need those two materials?
I'm questioning what would look better over that concrete. Either one, as I see it, would be elevated. The glass would accommodate backlighting. The steel would not. Well, you can backlight it, just be a silhouette. I don't know. Do you guys understand what I'm
Thank you.
trying to explain?
I like the glass over the steel because if you backlight it and you happen to go up there at night, you can still read it against the backlighting, and it would be contrasting just as it would during the day. With steel, you have to put the lights in front of it so that it shines up and can be seen at night.
Yeah.
With the backlighting, you know, the lights are up close to, if not right underneath, in front of that panel, and shine straight up that panel, illuminating the back of it, or the face of the panel, and you can read everything through the glass.
So cut to the chase, we're all in agreement to go with glass.
Yeah.
Now, I do have one question.
Yeah.
Not so much against like World War I, World War II. Those names are pretty much locked in unless through all the research we find another name or something like that.
Yeah,
But or like current, we have another campaign. We go, I don't know, China, wherever. Do we re-engrave another glass plate so that we can keep the names alphabetical like you were saying? Or do they
If-
just get added at the bottom regardless of what their last name starts with or whatever?
If I were king for a day with an unlimited checkbook, when that campaign, that next conflict, that next war is over. Again, we're looking, this one lasted 70 years. So
Yeah.
whenever that next war were to be over, that compilation of those war dead, I take that in.
Would
That's
be-
why I say make that one panel, take that entire panel off, redo it. So all the names fit in the same font, in the same spacing, in the confines of that panel.
The further back you go is where you need to be a little concerned at adding names, because that's where you're gonna get less information.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
likely where you're gonna be adding names.
Right,
Okay,
but
that's,
they're also looking at 70 years from now, how many more wars we're gonna have between now,
well, 40 years from now, my children are sitting trying to figure out what to put on that.
right? Yep. But to answer your question, Glenn, that would be the case. You know, having again, the confidence of existing names being known through the wars, and we'll pick on Spanish American up to today. The confidence is 99.9% of the names are identified. There's still some that are out there yet, but they're getting flushed out, but still the names are identified. For the most part. We have one down the road, maybe. So again, concrete, earth tone, glass panel. We're all in agreement?
Aye.
Okay, then we're good. So that gives that foundation. Centerpiece, focal point, monument. Just lifelike statue versus an abstract. Abstract is yet to be determined.
I like Glenn's idea with the shadow figure. Where it's,
Well, I'm gonna step off of that real briefly to help kind of hone this a little bit. Lifelike as in a human statue, lifelike as in a soldier's cross. We talked about last time too. That's uniform, or I'm sorry, that's a unilateral approach that can throw a tremendous shadow. You guys know what soldier's cross is?
Oh, I do.
No, you're gonna have to like,
The boots with the rifle
okay,
pointed down, helmet on top.
Sure.
Is somebody gonna argue which, from what time period?
They will.
So which would you pick?
I'd pick an
steel
M16.
pot.
around,
Well, sure. M1 is timeless.
yeah, that's because it's more generic. You know.
It's World War II on
World
up.
War II, some people aren't smart enough, it's not World War One, so they won't argue about it. And it went up almost into Vietnam, right, Korean War, it's a good middle of the road.
Steel
I-
pot.
And
You know,
it's very simple design, you know, it's not.
I'd pick an M1 brand or the 03A3.
Yeah.
Bolt action.
And use the steel pot for the helmets, since that was in more conflict
Well,
than any of them.
Glenn, I'm sorry, Larry, let's play off of that, because again, an M1 can capture this generation, well, basically almost World War I up to
Mhm.
Vietnam.
Yeah.
But if we did a Kevlar, that takes the next generation.
Yeah, it's your fusion.
I mean, I wore a Kevlar for a long time, and I still have more respect for the steel pot than I do the Kevlar.
I was a sailor, you didn't worry about that stuff.
You had those big ones so you could put your earmuffs underneath.
I
it.
never seen a radio. I never radio talk.
Yep, very familiar. Yep.
Does it matter? Anyone, Kevlar versus steel pot? I just threw it out for bridging generations.
Like the bridging generations thing myself, you know.
I'm all right with the bridging too. You know, the M1 or the 03.
A grand and a Kevlar. That's your, brings the old and new together.
How about hanging dog tags?
Yeah, I think that's would be a good thing. It's,
You agree with that?
I
Okay.
do too. I think that'd be nice.
Just a generic blank.
Cause that's every single war you have. Well.
On the, you gonna put boots at the
Yeah.
base?
Yeah.
And then that still can tie in. Do you put in cavalrymen's boots? From
Can't.
Spanish American War and Indian Wars?
I'm trying to picture that.
Or were the World War I boots had leggings?
How would that show?
I don't know for sure. I'm just throwing it out there.
How would that show?
Are you thinking the Soldier's Cross would be a custom commissioned piece? Because there are plenty of off-the-shelf Soldier's Cross statues that you could literally just order online. But if you're talking about this level of detail from all these generations of different wars, that's a custom commissioned piece. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And there would gladly do as an in-kind.
That'd only be an extra $50. I'm not.
Yeah, right.
And there we're gonna talk about price again.
Yep. I'm still trying to picture leggings, because those boots are a little taller, aren't they?
yeah. And we want to chin a little more than here. Yeah, but I don't know. Hard to say how that look. I think you just pick a generic combat boot.
I'm a GWAT veteran, so I like the M16. I like the desert boots, or we could do black too.
Well, this would be a cast product, so it'd be all one color, metal.
Okay.
Probably a bronze. So it would weather a patina.
Pay homage to World War II with your boots.
Well, that's where the rifle is hitting. The rifle's hitting from World War II. I'm sorry, World War One, II, Korea, and Vietnam.
Up to Vietnam.
Yep. Then the Kevlar is capturing from basically the Gulf War on up to GWAT, Global War on Terrorism, and beyond. Because I came in right as the steel pots were going out. I shaved in it, and that was about it. I'd say for the boots, I think just a regular set of leather sole combat boots. Keep it simple in that piece, because we got everything else is,
Yeah, I'm looking at World War I boots. That would not be simple.
yeah, they're tall, that I
They're
remember.
tall.
And then dog tags leave them blank.
I would keep them.
What could you even put on them?
I don't know, I'm just picturing that in my
Unless
head.
you put Morgan County or dead on them.
That's not bad. Morton County on one, War Dead on the other. That's not bad. Okay,
You wouldn't want to do cavalry boots either. They're way high.
yeah.
No.
Go up to the knee.
So to help Al's first questions, I think that really gives you the
Yeah,
answers that
yeah.
you need there then.
Yeah.
So now you got a good direction. What else do you need?
I think everybody has a consensus that the flagpole should be up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was explained.
And high enough to avoid that annex.
Well, again, if we go with bigger flags, definitely, well, the bigger flags do require a different size pole, but making sure it's far enough away.
But the pole's still gotta be big enough so that when it flies at half staff, the wind can get to it and it doesn't touch the building.
Which actually,
So the bigger the flag, the taller the pole.
correct. Get into the next item here. You guys are seeing that? The site map?
Yep.
So we actually hired a land surveyor. They compiled this. So these are fresh. Just looking, we had dimensions on here. Dimensions on there, but
78 feet north to south.
Okay.
And the
east-west.
social services building north wall is 50 feet long.
So this wall is at 50 feet
Yes.
and here to here is 78.
Correct.
And this is whatever the difference is of that area. You can see the contours that are in there as well. This is more so for the architects. Again, we just got this today. So for the architects' needs, so they can scale out accordingly.
In the final concept that we developed, would you like us to move the ADA parking stalls on the street? Line it up in a spot that's better in alignment with the front?
There's a thing with, we need to bring Auditor Roan in on that one. And there's a thing with, City of Mandan on our handicap parking. And they keep blowing us off.
Okay.
We talked about that, didn't we?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's still not totally settled.
Unresolved. Okay.
Well, the add-on to that is also the signs. Because the signs just really clutter it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to work with
That's true.
facilities to between that, but working placement of the parking signs and access signs and all that fun stuff. But yeah, we did talk with Don and that was brought up.
Yep, and plus it's a city ordinance to have city approval to move
Yep.
the parking spots around.
I remember it's because they were going to schedule it, they never scheduled it. And now it's at the point, okay, if we make this a go ahead, let's incorporate it. So if they're coming in this year, then let's hold off maybe one more year. If we get this moving, get approved, get funded. So it'll all be done in 26 or 27, whatever we
You're
make this
talking the
come
handicap.
the parking striping and all that.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll all be part of this project. That's what we talked about.
Well,
Because
the other thing that we have to be concerned about is Second Avenue is gonna be under phase 2 of what the city is doing in downtown.
and that's 27, you think?
That'd be 27, 28 probably.
Okay. Well, that gives us a little bit of timing too then, if that's the case.
Yeah.
That's the other public meeting that was happening
So what
tonight,
is phase 2 gonna be?
redoing all the roads, surface roads.
Okay, chip seal,
Secondaries.
Grind down every seal.
I don't know the scope, but they had the city had their public meeting at 5:30 today at the library. So it'll be in the news tonight.
Tonight, they were considering phase 1, which goes from the 4th Avenue to 6th Avenue on First Street. And then the avenues going north, 4th and 5th, going north to 2nd. And then they're moving east for the second phase. I think there might be a third phase to
They would take it further beyond
go.
Collins.
to go up to Collins and
A lot of stuff even farther east got done. Agree?
east of Collins was done last year.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. Yep.
yeah. I got the special.
But that's what the conversation was with them. With regards to the city sidewalk, because they've been not able to execute. So she was gonna follow up, then if this comes into fruition next year, then she just work with the city and do it next year when this is all being done. what we also discussed is the city sidewalk itself isn't really decent shape considering. But if got to redo for ADA compliance, that's where she thought let's just hold off until do it all in one shot.
So as part of the project though, then you might want to consider the sidewalk being part of the city redoing it, so it'd be under that, so it wouldn't be under your cost for the memorial.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, just the timing.
Right.
Yep.
That's a good delineation for us to know, so that when we prepare our final opinions of costs, we know whether to include that or not. So we are not going to include anything in the public.
Correct. Correct. So again, back to Al and Jake, anything more that you guys need to fill your coffers yet? Fill your minds?
I think you've answered a lot of my questions, so.
Okay. Then my homework for the committee is, again, moving forward with the consideration of a named wall placard, some sort. What do we want to call it? So I ask each of you, just send me an independent email and I'm gonna put it up for an anonymous vote, if you will. Not saying that this person suggests this, whatever. I'm just gonna list. These are the recommended, these are the names that were brought forward. Give me the top three.
So you're saying,
Between-
what are we calling the monument?
Well, yeah, the plaza.
The plaza?
The plaza, again, in the concept, and pull it back up here again. Where's that one out? Oh, there it is. He's old. Okay, so this was part of the initial concept that the architects presented to the county commission. But here at the very front, they just put a name together.
What does that say?
Defenders of Freedom Plaza. So homework item number one, what do we want to call this plaza? Knowing that a subtitle will be a monument to Morgan County War Dead or something along that line. Okay. Homework number two, again, I'm just going to go off the preface of putting immortal quotes out there. Give me some immortal quotes. And we'll put that up for consensus vote as well.
I say the poetry to Taps. Cause then Taps is always playing.
Send me an individual email with that, and we'll put up for vote. But boy, imagine if you put a sound cone in there. Actually,
Every night at sunrise, have it play.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Yep. Colors, evening colors.
Also like the biblical thing, the saying that, you know, no
15
greater love than man
15,
had to
13.
give his life for a friend.
So then we'll hold off to meet until you guys are ready for that presentation. That'd be part of that. So what would you figure? 6 weeks?
Yeah, we were thinking middle of March, right?
Yep, I think so.
Even if we want to just say the end of March, that gives you a couple extra weeks,
That would be really,
or first part of April.
let's plan for the end of March.
So if we stay on a Monday, platform the 24th. How does that work?
I'm in town, fine.
Monday, the 24th of March. Glenn, Gary, Larry. March 24, Monday night,
Yeah,
6 o'clock here.
I'll do the best I can. You know, my schedule starts going nuts around that time.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Then I'll throw it out to Scott and Tracy or Scott and Todd just the same, so
Okay.
they're aware. But
Now,
then,
I do
go ahead.
have one question.
Yeah.
And I brought this up at the last meeting. We call this Defenders, like I was going by the name that was on here, Defenders of Freedom Plaza. And you're talking, subtitling a memorial to Morton County's war dead. Going back to the two gentlemen who are listed on there as Medal of Honor winners.
Oh, yes.
They were not posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. They lived. They came home, they got their medal, and they lived with their medal in Morton County or whatever. The essence around this whole monument is war dead. Being that the name that was on there is what struck me, Defenders of Freedom Plaza. We have that monument in the middle for the war dead. Do we want to put the two Medal of Honor winners in a different area? I think I had mentioned something about that small little cutout over there by the county office doors. Putting up a monument, and I can send you a.
It's just that sidewalk.
Yep. Well, sidewalk. Sorry, we're chatting here about what you're talking about.
I can send you a picture, Ray. It's in this Veterans Memorial Plaza that they have here in Farmington. They've got three people from the Farmington area that received the Medal of Honor. And it just has a little plaque that has their citation on it and what they did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then maybe putting that in a different location, not where not taken away from the fact that they didn't die getting their Medal of Honor, but the Medal of Honor is a very prestigious thing. And if we were to go with, I think it's to the left there, right there where that little cutout right there. Yeah. We could turn that into like the Heroes Monument or something, and even if they died for service, their name would go on the war dead. But if they got the Medal of Honor in doing it, they would also have an individual pillar with their citation on it. And I'll send you a picture with the ones that I looked at. But and then I got to thinking, do we want to call that like the Heroes Corner or something? Citations for Medal of Honor winners, maybe a list of names of people who won the Silver Star, if that type of information is accessible. Because the Silver Star is one step below the Medal of Honor.
2 steps.
2 steps. What's 1 step?
Navy Cross.
Navy Cross. Okay. Was there anyone who won the Navy Cross from Morton County? And maybe, something like that. I don't know if I want to go as far down as saying Purple Hearts. Heck, we may have to build a whole nother building to put that plaque on. I don't know. But keeping the war dead together but recognizing the heroes that have won the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Thanks for bringing it up, because yeah, we did discuss that first meeting, and we discussed it briefly at the beginning of this one.
I was thinking you could put them on, you have the one in the center, what to go with all the names of the war dead. That you could put that citation names on each side of it, and other panels along with your other stuff you want to put.
Well, that's where you guys can see this, right? So, and I mentioned this at that first meeting too, is we have this whole area. That would be a really good place, kind of. Again, it adds more costs, but it allows that recognition, because when you have Medal of Honor recipients that are from Morton County, what do we have, Andy? 3 of them?
Medal of Honor,
3 of them or 2 of them?
2.
So 2 of them, but also, and I just caution how we recognize, but not get too diluted with the recognition. But looking at the EMS, emergency services personnel, specifically that crash from, was that 2 years ago?
Oh, they're not gonna get a wall.
No,
That's all electronic.
right. But that's where I want to making sure that we don't get too diluted with our representation. However, we can easily incorporate, maybe it's the granite slabs getting repurposed and putting some sort of a etching with their citation or whatever it might be. So one, you're keeping your costs in check, but you're also giving that recognition.
I just emailed you a picture of one of those, Ray.
Okay.
And yeah, it is the Marine Corps one. And this actual, if you zoom in and read the citation, this guy actually jumped on a grenade and saved his platoon. That's what his citation is for. But that's kind of what I'm looking at as far as the Medal of Honor winners.
Right.
That can be also, we're looking at doing QR codes. That could be,
Incorporated there as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
They have something up like that up at the Minot Zoo as well, that honors all of the Congressional Medal of Honor winners in North Dakota, I believe. I think they did Navy Cross and the Silver Star for Valor.
Well, again, I just put this for consensus, so the architects get their direction. The consensus is we also incorporate a separate display of Morton County Medal of Honor recipients. That's question number 1. And then
how far down on the award?
I just
can we
leave it at
go?
Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
Medal of Honor. That
Leave it
sounds
at Medal of
good.
Honor.
They ain't the top, they don't get the first.
Yep.
But I do think the citation is warranted, because it
It tells
tells
the
you
story.
what they did to achieve that.
Right. So I'm going to direct the topic here. Consensus is to use this area,
Which one are you pointing at?
that area.
Yeah.
Right, what you and I were just talking
Right in
about.
here, where the sport
No.
team is?
No,
Over there in front of
next to the south of the 10 Commandments.
So
In
this spot's open right here.
this area here. So this is the planter bed.
Yep.
That's the corner of the building. The monument is what, right here, I think. That's the 10 Commandments. right?
10 Commandments is right here.
Using this area here.
Tree might obstruct it.
Well, we can cut limbs, branches.
Oh, Buckley ain't gonna be happy about that. I'll let you handle that one.
just trimming it for.
We're trimming it. pruning it.
Is that gonna be an issue with the grounds?
No, because right now this is a gravel area.
Okay.
That's a solid gravel area. In fact, this little dashed line right here, that is the drainage from the flat roof.
As far as the Medal of Honor citations for both of them, I've got.
So consensus is moving forward that way then?
Talking about possibly adding that to the wall.
The Medal of Honor?
Yeah.
I would keep that separate. War dead.
In the last meeting, we were talking about that.
That it was how I say we can definitely make it part of the project, but separating war dead versus the recognition.
Yeah.
That recognition. That esteemed recognition. Okay. Anything else from the committee? So again, very good conversation, very good discussion. I thank you for your time. It's been 2 hours. We appreciate it.
Motion adjourned.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. See you on 24 March at 6 o'clock and look forward to some good renderings and some follow-on discussion with that. So I will email follow-up, like I said, for those 2 requests for you guys all giving me ideas on what we could name this plaza. And you guys also giving inspirational quotes that could be incorporated into the design. And then from there, we'll vote. Once you guys email to me, I will reassemble it back out to you and vote from there.
So question. The meeting is the 24th. You would probably like to see something about a week ahead from us so that you have a chance to review that
Yes.
before the meeting.
Yes.
All right. Give me more time there, Jake.
They were trying to give us more time.
Well,
Get away, Al.
Well,
We started at 4 weeks, 6 weeks, went to 8,
well,
so you're back at 7.
No, I think that's too long.
no, I think we need to do that. So you have a chance to take a look
Digest it.
at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So everyone can assemble their questions. And then also for you guys, we'll just stop sharing. I'm gonna dismiss, just some direction for the architects here too then. So thank you guys for being on board. We will chat soon.
Thank you.
All right.